we just did your offer niche. Now we're going to talk about your audience client niche, because this is how you figure out where your perfect people, who they are, where they hang out, what their pain points are, what their needs are, and how they want to feel. And then you can figure out how you're going to make them feel that way, so that you're the person standing up here that people go, there they are, and they come right to you. So we're going to talk about your audience client niche. And I want you to remember that your perfect client represents your ideal or typical client. So those of you who've already been selling in the physical space and physical world, if you already know something, or you know a few of your clients, or you have repeat clients, it's going to be a little bit easier, because you can talk about or think about some of their common threads, the things that go from person to person. If you've sold online before, same deal. You can figure out a little bit about past clients. If you've taught workshops, you know who is drawn to what you're doing. If you haven't sold before, it can be a little bit harder the first time, but it's not nearly as hard as people make it. The big thing to remember is you are not your perfect client. You are not your market. So here's what I mean by that, especially if you're teaching. Your ideal client, if you're a teacher of any sort, is where you were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you can remember your journey that got you from there to here, but your perfect client is not where you are right now. If you're a painter, your perfect client doesn't have the same income stream that you do. They might be making a lot more money than you. They can afford more. One of the biggest roadblocks that artists have in making a living from their art is asking for an appropriate amount of money for what they make. All too often, people want to price their paintings at a point that barely covers the cost of materials, and they're making like $1 an hour. I've seen people price it where they're not even making back the cost of the materials. Don't do that. The thing is, and it's because they're coming from a scarcity mentality, a lack mentality. The people who are buying your paintings have the money to purchase your paintings. And if you're not getting in front of them now, it's because you haven't identified who your perfect people are. And if once you identify them, you can get in front of them and charge what's the appropriate amount. It is not based on what people in your small local community will pay. It is based on the global market, and you have to price accordingly. You don't want to be the Walmart of the art world. It's not a good route to go down. You want to be the Bonwit Teller of the art world, at least eventually. You might have to start out at the Macy's level, but you're going to get to be in Bonwit Teller down the road. But you're not going to be Walmart. That is not allowed. You can't do that. So you can't charge $25 for a painting. That doesn't work. So you need to remember, you are not your market. And in the ideal world, what you're looking for is the intersection. I'm going to switch it back so you can see just me for a minute. In the ideal world, you're looking for the intersection, kind of a Venn diagram of basically 4 different things. You're looking for the intersection of what you have the skills to create. I'm actually going to even draw this. Let me go back and share the screen. So you're looking for the intersection of what you have the skills to do. This is really crude writing, but you get the idea. And the thing you love to do, my water glass is right in the way. What you love So this is the offer part. What you have the skills to create, what you love to create, and then what your perfect people need. That's their external need. What they can afford, because those are all external physical things. Forgot to hook up my iPad so I could write on it instead. It looks so much better. Sorry about that. I'm going to make a better version of this later. And that intersects with what they love and how they want to feel. So you see, on one side we have feelings, both your feelings and their feelings. On the other side, we have the real external physical stuff, what you have the skills to make, what you have available to work with, what they need physically and what they can afford. And what you can sell is this right here in the middle. It's where all of those things come together. So if any one of these four things is missing, it's not going to work. You're not going to have a good sale. You don't have a sustainable business. So if you have the skills to make it, but you really don't love to paint it, you're not going to do it for very long. I can promise that. If they love what you do, but they don't have enough money, you're not going to be able to make the sales. So it's got to have all four components. And so when we're talking about the offer niche, it's this up here. It's what you have the skills to do. It's what you love to make. And the audience niche is down here. It's what they need externally, what they can afford, and then what they love and how it makes them feel. So I just want to make sure that's all clear. A lot of time people don't value themselves. I want everybody to get over that really fast. There are people who need to see what you can make. And there are people who have the money to afford what you can make right now. You don't have to be Leonardo da Vinci to make a living from your paintings. But I want you to remember, you are not your market. You need to focus on your potential clients. And the marketing term for that is called prospects. That's a sales term. People sometimes get allergic to that and don't want to use it. But another term for that is leads, people who are potential buyers. So you can think about it as potential clients, potential buyers. You need to focus on them, not you. And what's wrong with most marketing is that people talk about themselves and not about their clients, not about their potential clients. So your perfect client avatar, and that's what we're going to work on creating, is this picture, kind of we're going to create a picture in our minds of what our perfect people look like. And it's a great tool. And you may have heard of the word customer avatar, client avatar before, or ideal client avatar. Most people start with the demographics, and the demographics are things like, how old are they? Are they married? Are they single? Do they live in a city? Do they live in the rural area? Where do they live? What's their income level? All of those are important things to know, but they're not the most important. Those are those external factors, and they're only one part of that Venn diagram I drew that had four parts to it. The part on the side that had love and love lining up, emotions lining up, that's the part that drives the sale. So the physical demographic part, it's important, but it's not the thing that drives the sale. And it's the part that so many people miss. You got to have the empathy side of it. You've got to know their feelings, their fears, their wants, their needs, and their desires. When you know that, you have the secret sauce. It's the secret sauce and your superpower. It's the stuff that makes it easier to sell. So an empathy profile is stronger than just the ideal customer avatar. Looking at that and answering the questions that we're going to talk about will make it so much easier to write your content and to know where you're going to find your people. People don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. People buy based on feeling. Then they justify the purchase with a logical need. So people, when they go shopping, say they might start off with, I need a painting to go over my sofa. And they'll start shopping around. What they ultimately decide on will be something that makes them feel a certain way. Going back to Bishop's paintings. People who are really adore mid-century modern, they're going to want a painting that makes them feel like they are living in a mid-century modern environment. Because most of the people who are attracted to mid-century modern love the whole feeling of that 50s, 60s, Mad Men, early modern, mid-century modern culture. See, it becomes a culture thing. So we're going to look for where our people's culture is, and that's the big pocket of people we're going to go to. So we're going to be looking for pockets of perfect people. And we want our niche people, that's our little pocket, and we're going to find them in a bigger pocket. So as we start to look around, for example, Mary looks at things that have everything to do with Southern landscape and culture. Culture is where that empathy lines up, because it's what has to do with people's insides. It has to do with what makes them feel certain things in certain ways. And that begins to drive them, their buying habits, whether they even realize it or not. A lot of that's subconscious and people don't even realize it's happening. So we just need to get inside their heads. And when you do it right, people think that you kind of are using their words. And actually you are, because we're going to talk about where you find their words too. But people buy what they want, not what they need. Everybody with me so far? Awesome. So let's go back and think about that niche statement. And the second part of it is for who. So we're going to talk about the who, and we're going to talk about so they feel, what it is that they want to feel. So people who love mid-century modern want to feel like Audrey Hepburn. They love Audrey Hepburn. Think about Audrey Hepburn movies. They are quintessentially mid-century modern. And that's how they want to feel. They want to feel chic, mod, like mid-century modern. They want to feel with it, contemporary and up to date. That's totally different than a boho look. So thinking about the culture that people come out of makes it much easier to figure out why they want to feel that way. What is it that they want to feel? I want you to pick one body of work. So you might have lots of different things you've tried, but you're going to focus on one group of paintings or one group of sculptures so that you can really promote that. Don't scattergun it. Focus in. So, for example, if you've done loose painterly abstractions and you've done photorealist landscapes, pick one or the other to promote first. You can't promote it all at one time because it's going to two different niches. Pick one, narrow it down. So even if it's diversified, you're going to be able to find 2 or 3 paintings that go in the same kind of direction. That's what you want to look for. So for everybody who's tried lots of different things, pick one. Doesn't mean you're letting go of all the others, but you can only promote one at a time. Okay? So you just have to narrow it down a little bit. I don't promote my paintings of people, I promote my landscapes. So for the most part, don't promote my still lives that much anymore. I did it one time. I moved away from doing them. So you just have to narrow it down, because here's why. I make what so that for who? And the who is people who love what you make. So I make paintings of the Southern landscape for people who love Southern landscape and culture. It tells me where I need to go to find them. So we're going back to categories there. Who are the categories of people that could love what I do? So I'm going to pop one of my paintings up for just a minute for anybody who might not be that familiar. So this one is a painting of old rice fields. So I make paintings of the Southern landscape for people who love the Southern landscape environment and culture. So that whole series was mainly of old rice fields, the dikes. I painted off of the old dikes into looking out over that vast open space. That is a quintessentially Southern landscape, particular to the Southeast, from Louisiana to South Carolina. And there is a big pocket of people who love Southern culture, who love paintings of Southern landscapes, and that's who I'm looking for. So that gives me one category that I can look at. People who love Southern landscapes, people who love Southern culture, people who love landscape painting, people who love the environment, people who love conservation. That kind of describes the categories that my people fall into. So for example, I have collectors who are wildly different in their belief systems in a lot of ways. But one of the things they share is a belief in the conservation of the land. They believe in preserving open space. They believe in having space that people can move through and share. National parks, park spaces, protected lands. They can have different ideas about environmental protection, but they believe in conservation. It's apolitical, totally. A lot of them love outdoor activities. Not all of them. Some of them can't do it anymore. Most of them have a direct connection to Southern culture, even if they don't live here anymore. But I can go through and look for the people in those categories and find them, and I'm going to find some of my perfect people. I want my clients to feel the wind. I want them to feel the atmosphere and the weather. I want them to feel like they are outside right now. I want them to feel the experience of the light and the atmosphere that I felt. And it makes my heart sing when they feel that way, whether they are buying it or not. I love that. It floats my boat. It's the reason I get out there and keep painting and sharing my paintings with the world. So you have to know about what it is that you want them to feel. So a lot of mine have busy jobs so that they can't always get outside. If they have a painting that captures that experience, they can relive that experience. So I've got a really specific market. So what we're getting ready to do is to think about all of the people who might love what you do. And I want you to write down some categories. So think about what I just listed. People who love landscape painting in general, people who love the Southern landscape, people who love Southern culture, people who love conservation, and people who love the environment. I got 5 things right there. So I want you to think about how the different categories of people who would love what you do. See if you can figure out 5. And when you look at the next sheet, you will see a space to do some of that. So let's see if I'm skipping ahead there. Nope. There we go. Your perfect customer or client. We're going to talk about who are they, where are they, and what do they want. And you're going to think about the reason I want you to make that list of people who love is we're going to go find Facebook groups and pages that fit those categories. That's how you figure out where your people are. So right here, for who, I want you to write down people who love and come up with at least 5 different categories of peoples who loves things you loves and write them down. You can come up with more than 5. Great if you do. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you nail down the client niche, that last sentence you said should be true for everyone. That people who tell their own story about the painting. Because what you want to have happen is for people to love what you do so much that they create their own story through your painting. They're in essence doing that when they buy paintings and they hang them in their home. They're creating a story by the pictures, the paintings, the sculpture, the art that they choose to decorate their home with. The way people decorate their homes is extraordinarily personal. They're creating their own style story. We're trying to get into their heads about the other kind of things they might like. For people who love what? For people who love what? I want you to get those categories down. And then we're going to dig into some of their particulars